My name is Alice Gibbons. I'm a member of the Graphic Arts Workshop, and I've been a member for about 50 years as of July.
Where are you from? I mean,
I'm from here. I'm from San Francisco. I was born and raised in the city, lived here most of my life. And I was born in 1943, so I'm 76 now. And I went to a private school for 6 years, and then I went to a public school for about 2.5 years. Then I went to another private high school for about a year. Then I went to a residential boarding school down in Southern California for the remainder of my high school years. Then I came back to San Francisco and went to the Art Institute, San Francisco Art Institute, for about 4 years. And then I went to Paris in 1967 for about 6 months and studied on independent art program on my own. Then came back. Then took some classes at San Francisco Art Institute to get back into printmaking. And then I just continued working until I found out the workshop in 1969 and looked into it and joined it that summer, July.
You always been your profession as artist, or do you?
Yeah, that's always been a main focus career-wise.
So you do sell art, sell prints, and cards, and so on.
Yeah, I've been since 1968. I've been professionally, selling artwork, showing things. And when I was at 69, I actually joined the workshop and I'm working at it even more full-time than before.
Okay. So what makes art so interesting to you? Like, what did you...
Well, I always have visual imagination, and I always like shapes and textures and color and all that. And of course, that's just my language. So that's what I do.
How do you pick the subject matter? What's the thing that usually interests you?
Well, I like buildings, landscapes, street scenes, plants, trees. I do some figurative, but not as much as I do objects and scenes.
Why are those subject matter kept you so much?
I just like the environmental feeling of it. It's like a set. And how human people relate to our environment and how we use it or not.
So when you started, do you usually do a sketch and then draw it? Like now I know you use photos.
Yeah, I use photos. I also make drawings from photos, and sometimes I do drawings from the object itself. But mostly when it comes to buildings and landscapes and scenes, there's sites, and I want to work on the image while I'm not at the site. So I make a drawing of it, and sometimes I do pictures of it, and I use drawings from that, do according to scale.
Why do you pick, intaglio as a technique?
I just like the process. I like the materials. I love metal. I used to polish our family silverware when I was a kid. I just love the idea of working with metal. And I didn't realize how much I liked it. When I went to the Art Institute, I did lithography. When I majored in printmaking, I did a lot of lithography. And I thought, well, I better try something else. So I tried etching, and I just took to it like it was perfect. It was just the right temperament for me. And I like the process. I like the metal. I like working on it and going back. And just a lot of physical manualness about it, even though it was chemical, and you dealt with a lot of strategy on how long you put in the acid and you delayed the process and the texturing. Lithography was a lot more chemical, a lot more calculated and controlling and very unpredictable because you can't always tell the result. But somehow with etching it seems more negotiable. So
more control.
And I just like the way it looks. I like the effects you can make with etching. It's so vast. through other people in the art community, you know, people who are collecting art or people who are artists themselves. And, you know, several people told me about it, and then I decided to go and check it out because I found out they had moved in an area which I could get easy to, and, you know, and it was in a safe neighborhood. California and 25th. That's what they were, they moved there in the late 60s, about a year before I found out about it and joined it. Because they used to be on Waller Street before that, just down in the Fillmore, and it was kind of a raunchy area, I've been told. So I didn't. Yeah, apparently it was a pretty rough neighborhood.
Okay.
And
did you ever encounter any kind of?
Well, people did countered stuff, but I didn't. I heard about it being that way, so I said, "Oh, I don't want to go there." So I went to the Art Institute, used their place, until I found out about the workshop was out in the avenues, and I thought, "Oh, I'll join my own workshop."
Yeah.
So I did, and that was out in the avenues. It was easier to get to on the bus, and the neighborhood was, quote, safe, you know, back in the late 60s.
Some of the founders still around? Or?
Yeah. There's a man who was still very active in the membership, was Stanley Koppel, and he was one of the charter members. And there were other earlier members too, but he was someone. And then there was another one, Irving Fromer, used to go to the meetings at that time, and then he stopped being active not too long after I was in the membership. But Stanley continued until he died. He was the only at that time continuous member from the beginning of the workshop to his death. Yeah. And that was like 25 years or something like that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But you surpassed him. You're a longer member than him.
I know. I surpassed him quite a bit. And, you know, I've been 50 years as a regular, current, continuous member.
So throughout the
More than anybody in the shop.
You must met so many different members.
Yes, all kinds of people, and all different eras and different atmospheres, you know, like different.
Did you see the changes?
Yeah, I saw the changes a lot, you know.
Tell us a little bit about the California 22nd period.
Oh, the California 25th Avenue. Well, it was like a giant garage. It was like 1,100 square feet of a square shape. It wasn't shoebox shape.
Okay.
And in another way, it was better to range shape-wise. Now, this was a bigger one. It was more square. It would be a better version of the workshop because you could sort of have sections, you know, the printmaking section. The litho area would be here, the etching would be there, and you wouldn't have to walk all over the place to get from your storage to everything else.
Like what we have here.
Yeah, I know, it's a lot of walking.
Yeah.
And you have to really be organized to really remember where everything is for what you want. And it was less of that, and things were closer together, so you just turn around and do this, turn around and do that. And it was much quicker. And it was kind of funky and disorganized when I joined it. They didn't have half the equipment that they have now. They had one lithograph press and one smaller etching press, and that was it in those. And then they had silk screen, and then people doing wood flat. But then gradually over the years we got the Griffin press, you know, a few years later, and then a few years after that, another decade, we got the Sturges. You know, we kept gradually building up. We got a plate cutter. First, we didn't have a plate cutter. We got that. It was in the 80s. And
it's all during the California Street time?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what are the people like? I mean, what is the generally, how many people come in? Is it pretty much like what we have now? Or?
Well, it's interesting because the members would be on the average of 25 and 30. Sometimes it would be less and more. Also, it was not until the 80s that there were more people using the place, actually living and not living there, working there. And sometimes in the 70s there'd be people there, but there are days I would go in and nobody would be there. And that was our concern, even though we're a bit of members, but a lot of them worked, you know.
So it's very much like what we have now.
Yeah, kind of, but not, I guess sort of, because very often there are not very many full-time printmakers of that medium. There are a lot of artists who do other things, and then there are people who have jobs and other commitments so that they can't be there every day.
Like gathering or parties or shows.
We had we had a gallery. I had a front room, which it used to be a bakery, and they would have the front room where they sell the products, which were pies and cakes, cookies, and then they would have an apartment between the front room with all the merchandise, and the back would be the bakery, and the workshop was in the bakery. So they had like an old oven there when they moved in, and a whole bunch of bricks, and they just took out a whole bunch of bricks, because there was a whole area in the room that was the oven. There was a big corner, and then they removed all that, and that became part of the workshop. Mm-hmm. And for a long time it didn't have a cement floor, so it was kind of a dirt floor in that part. And you finally cemented it in, I would say in the mid-70s, somewhere like that. And then had a brick wall, and sometimes, on one side of them they had a brick wall, this part of the wall, and ivy would grow out of it.
Wow.
It'd be really and it wouldn't have any photosynthesis, so it'd be kind of a pale green, light green.
Wow.
It's beautiful. Oh, there are a lot of people who were and a lot of good friends there. It was very sociable. And a lot of my closest friends were in the workshop at that time. And there were groups of people. There were like cliques, and here and there people who get along with each other, and then other groups of people in the workshop. And we would do things together in the 70s, 80s.
Now I know that the beginning time, before you joined, the workshop was very political. But I bet when you joined the workshop, it was not that political anymore, correct?
No, when I joined it was in the cusp of becoming mainly a place for printmakers, for people to do their artwork. And coincidentally, they would often have the same thing in common about the political points of view. But it was like a place to work.
So they don't participate in demonstration?
No, if they did it from their own volition.
Okay.
Or do it now sometimes they had shows that dealt with ecology and peace and all that. But in the early days, there's some members who were very politically oriented, who thought art was only good if it had a statement to it. Mm-hmm. And it's more like the WPA and socialism.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about why are they moving out of South California and moving to
Well, we had the landlady. The landlady died, and her.
So the landlady was pretty good in the renting of
Yeah, it was very cheap.
Yeah.
They were not greedy. They just long to had somebody just taking care of the place.
Supporting the artists.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they.
So she passed away.
She died. She was like 92. But she died, and her cousin's son. He was the property manager and all that, and he died, and his son took over the property. But since he was not a direct descendant, not like a son, just like a nephew cousin, there was something about the taxes or something like that. So they want to try to get the place sold by the end of the year, by the end of '91. So it did. And we negotiated with the landlady, the owners of the new place, to extend our stay there while they remodeled the front room, and we just had all our stuff in the back room. And the apartment, the apartment was always in the middle of the whole thing, was always lived in by one of the members or several members. So they helped with the rent.
Found this spot. founded?
Michael Kohler, a guy named Michael Kohler, because he had a studio, he ran a studio in this complex down near 20th Street, in the same, the industrial center. So I think he was the lead.
Okay.
But we did look around and look at various places that other people were connected with. But this was the one that we took, and it all worked out.
That
so.
was
1992.
92.
Yeah, we moved around February 92,
Okay.
and to another site in the building, another unit.
Not this one.
No, and when this was free, when the lease ran up and the people moved out, we took this one because I had those rooms back there
Okay.
already built for office space and so on.
All right. So was it in the same floor when you first moved?
It was on the third floor, yes.
So it's always have to walk all the stairs.
Yeah, we just had to move all this stuff over here.
Was it a big deal to move?
It was a very big deal to move. It took a lot of planning.
Yeah.
And Candace Jacobus, who was the president at the time, knows how to do these organizing leadership things, so she did a brilliant job.
Okay. Yeah. Was it a big expense or everybody?
I don't remember. It was expensive, but we had a good saving at that time. We could afford a move and all that.
Oh, so it's all out of the workshop's budget, not like donation or anything like that.
Yeah, I think we had enough money. Somebody did donate a whole bunch of money, and I don't remember if that happened before we moved or afterwards. I can't remember. But some anonymous person gave a large sum. What has happened over the last, was it 27 years?
Yeah. So there's a lot of but basic layout is the same. It's just little bits and pieces probably.
Yeah, we got this press through Kamiko, and then we got this press through Elon. Yeah, he refurbished it. It was all in pieces when he found out. One former member offered to give it to us, and I think Elon took it on and he fixed it up in his parents' place up in Woodacre.
Yeah.
Then slept it all down here and then put it together here.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. So, and then, throughout the years, there must be various different people with you.
Lots of different people, yeah.
What do you think? How many? Is it hundreds or?
I would say 1,000 maybe.
1,000?
I don't know, 800 people. There was just a lot of people coming at various levels of intent.
Yeah.
Some people coming and joining for about a month or two and then disappearing.
Yeah.
I don't know, a good 500 to 800 people. I'd have to really sit down and count if any of them recorded.
Yeah. What do you think, what do you hope the workshop will go?
I think, I just hope it could continue with the way it has been going and really survive out of it, because it's a very cooperative place. It seems to thrive on cooperation. We get some me first assholes, but they seem to have been able to disintegrate just out of our stand to have it as a shared place. And we often went into the effort of trying to make it a non-profit, but that takes so much bureaucracy and so many things that are relevant to why were we here to work, You have to get a board, you have to get this and all that, and it just seemed like in our case it was not, and the membership is not solid enough as continuity, that it's hard to follow through on something that takes a long time to develop to a result. I mean, there are other art groups that are non-profit, and they have boards and all that stuff. But somehow we have just never been to get around. Yeah, you have to give classes, you have to do something to the community. You do something away from your own projects often. And it's a conflict there, and it just wasn't attractive enough for the majority of people to work it out.
Yeah.
My impression.
What is your advice to, let's say if people interested in the group, or a new member, what is your advice to them?
that it's a workshop that is shared. It's shared, right? We volunteer. I tell them the place is here. This is the result of what people do to help it or to support it. And if you find something missing and you're capable of replacing it, it's your job to do that. You know, certain things are, you know, the maintenance, all aspects of abilities are invited or even welcome or demanded, depends upon the circumstances. Where people have electrical power, of course Leslie connects with this electrician, she has a good relationship. But we meet people with all sorts of skills outside the printmaking skills, you know. These tables were all built by members. These wooden tables are all member supported. Or things was donated by members. Or maintenance of press, cleaning the place, painting the place. It's just the whole result here, providing, getting equipment at some kind of affordable access or something. And it's all dealing with membership and publicity, and we don't have that. You know, we have the strength that we show, just like the chain is as strong as the weakest link.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it, you know.
Yeah.
We want it to live as long as it's around. I mean, you know, I think the whole nature of it is a good one. It's what we need. Because, you know, printing on a press, the whole idea is multiples. The whole idea is equality, egalitarian. I mean, the presses are shared. People can use the presses at once if they could set it up. I mean, it's a community type thing, communication and all that. And I think if we don't continue to have somebody that demonstrates that, it's going to be serious. Because there is a lot of individuality, exclusiveness that's going on. People are isolating themselves with technology. They're not using it always as an inclusive device. So, I mean, printmaking at studio is an inclusive environment.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Alice, for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah. Thank you.
More to come, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All righty.